Boards and booze, booze and boards, drinks and beers, fight some hordes. Drank too much, forgot our swords, ran back home, filled our gourds, got drunk again, sang some chords. Boards and booze and boards, with Mickey and Jeb. Hey everyone, booze and boards, Mickey and Jeb.
Jeb, Mickey.
I thought you were going to give me crap because, guess what? I deleted our intro for this video.
Oh, he's going to admit it. He was
Yes.
bonehead. I wasn't even going to say a word. I'm like, well, they don't know unless you... We already did this once.
Yeah, so...
I probably said really good stuff, too.
Yeah, I think we did like a 20-minute intro or something like that.
Anyways, and Jeb had a stupid joke, I think, too, but now I don't remember.
No, there was no super joke for this one.
You sure?
Yeah, we were both like, we don't have anything.
Oh, it was Age of Towers you had the stupid
because of
joke.
the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, that's it, because it was not funny. Alright, so anyways, what do we got?
We've got the Stonebound Saga.
Okay.
Look at that beautiful artwork.
Yes.
And that's just the beginning of the artwork.
It's true. It's very true. So, guess who bought this game? This guy. Anyways, Kickstarter. Stonebound Saga. It is for, I am upside down, 2 to 6 players, ages 14 and up. I'm going to say that might be a fairly fair assessment. Maybe a little bit younger. It's heavy reading.
They have a little picture of a baby that goes 0 to 3 and it's like crossed out. So
never seen that before?
No, really is that on all of them?
Well, other things.
Oh, okay. I never pay attention. I'm just laughing at it.
Yeah,
it's like a
tickled Jeb's fancy over here. He's kind of loony today.
The company that did it is Sky Kingdom Games.
Yes, and the designer. Why do we always do this to ourselves?
Because we're not prepared when we do these.
Hey, they get live television here.
Right.
Live television. What does it say on the rule book?
Oh, I guess it helps if I looked right.
Yeah, that's right. Look at the back first, Jeb.
Well, sometimes they have it in the credits. I don't see a designer in the book.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, look at the back. I wonder if we found it on the one that you deleted.
No, we didn't even attempt it.
Okay, anyways. Alright, so I backed this on Kickstarter. Typical game for me to back. I looked at it. The art was fantastic.
There were archers.
And it's a fantasy type setting. A little background about the Kickstarter. This is I think it's just the second. I don't think it was the third. It might have been the third. But it had been tried a couple times. The name the first time was Zion something or another. When they got ready to kick again, people complained that the Zion had too much religious connotation, so they changed it to the Stonebound Saga. I thought that was crazy, but whatever. They got it made me happy. So, they also followed them a little bit. This is supposed to be the first step in some other things in this world that they're creating. As of this recording right now, the first expansion for this game is live on Kickstarter, so go check it out. If you like what you see here, I can tell you that Jeb and I have gone over the mechanics of the game, looked through some of the stuff, and there is, if you're like a strategy type, I want a bazillion combinations of stuff, this is gonna be up your aisle. Like I said, you're gonna get to see us play our first entire game through, but we played around with the mechanics, picked some characters we like, etc., etc., and there's just a ton of stuff going on, or at least it seems to be, anyways.
Yeah, and if you don't know what the game is there's a giant board that's kind of like the field, and each player has a team of characters, and you're pretty much your team versus other teams, and you win when you defeat the other team.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I mean, pretty straightforward in that. It's just that there's a lot of different powers or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of combinations of abilities.
Just a lot of stuff that you can do, giving like a lot of different lot of different strategy, and because of the combinations that you can switch around with the characters and stuff, putting certain combinations together to suit your style is definitely possible and a cool way to do things. So, anyways, I don't remember if there was anything else in the one that Jeb deleted that I forgot to mention.
And the worst part is, I watched some of it, and then like the next day I completely forgot and deleted it.
Because a lot of times we do multiple things at the same time, so he's just got, he puts the memory card, and I guess he was just on autopilot and went, and off it went. So
yep.
We're here. You get to see us do this again. I am pretty excited about seeing how this thing plays all the way through. I liked what I saw with the little bit that we've done so far. Without review, like this, not trying to jump into a review. I'm just saying I'm excited for it because I don't know. Who knows? After I play the game, I might be like, too overkill. I don't know. But so far, I'm looking forward to seeing what it holds with the little bit that we've seen.
Well, I knew nothing about it, and then Mickey was like, "Let's do this," and I read the rules, and I was like, "Okay, we'll see how it goes."
Yeah. So yeah, same here. Like I said, we've seen a little bit, but we don't know what's in store for the whole thing. So that being said, and seeing as nobody can find who the designer of the game was, which is awful. Sorry, guys. Go to the
Kickstarter or Sky Kingdom
Games and look it up, and I apologize.
The Stoneboundsaga.com.
Yeah, I apologize for not remembering, because we never pull this stuff out. We're unscripted here at Booze and Boards. The only thing that we have planned sometimes is some fancy drinks.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we'll be back in a minute with components. There's actually a little more components than just cards in this game, even though it is a card game. Your characters slide around the battlefield in card form, similar to Summoner Wars, so that's what you're going to kind of be looking at. But there's the other things that go with it. Yeah. So we'll be back in just a minute with the components, and then as normal, after that we'll do setup and mechanics, and then we'll run into a two-player game of
one versus one. Yeah, three character versus three characters. So.
Right, with a maximum of 5-star value. But we will play 3-on-3. We won't do a 2-on-3 or anything like that. Yep. So, see you in a minute with components.
Yep. Alright, so we are back with the components for Stonebound Saga. So, we'll go over this pretty quick because there's not too many components that you've got to worry about. The first thing is going to be the game board.
Okay, so the game board isn't out yet. Because, sometimes they show you, and I don't know if you can start to see this yet, it's pretty massive.
I think they can...
Try to not, here we go, here it comes. Ready, so I'll try not to bust this thing. That's okay, because I bought the playmat for it.
That's good, I think they get the idea.
There you go, it's probably off the screen. Yeah. It's a big battlefield. So
we will definitely be zooming out for our gameplay.
So you get an idea of that. Oh, look at that, and I didn't even rip the board putting it back together, just so you guys know, because I know you were concerned. Oh, there it went, I just ripped it. See? I jinxed it. That's why I bought the playmat. Anyway, go ahead.
Alright, next up are the character dashboards.
Okay, character dashboards, right here. There are 12 in the box because you can play this with 4 people, each controlling 3 characters. Okay, so the dashboard consists of all your stats for your characters. It's kind of nice. They came with these. These weren't already inserted. You have to insert it yourself. But they have sliders because there are a lot of stats to keep track of. So it's a pretty nice feature to have this to keep track of the numbers. Real quick, hit points, physical defense, spirit defense, attack, range, your move value, and what your critical is. This is where you put your characters, and it has all the starting stats for whatever class your character is, and then it has some pegs for fuse abilities, which we will get into a little bit later.
Speaking of plastic pegs.
These plastic pegs, again, like I said, there are what are called fuse abilities in this game, and the cards slip right here, and we'll show you an example. So if that was down there, I'm actually not sure if that's actually a defensive card or not, but it doesn't really matter. You would put the peg beside the ability that is active for right now, so you remember that it's on. Some of the cards only have one side, so you notice that there are holes in each side of the card, so you're totally covered with remembering what is active and what's not.
Next up are the D10s.
D10s in the game, you have one colored and one white. Colored one represents your 10 spot, and the whites represent 1. Double zeros, according to Jeb, usually means 0, but most people call it 100.
At least in the rulebook they explained it.
So you knew.
Yeah.
So there's a whole, I forget how many come with it, but there's plenty of combinations, so you can play with multiple players.
Then there are the status tokens.
Here's just a sample of the status tokens. There's tons of different statuses in this game. I think actually in the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13.
Oh.
13 different status tokens that, and these are nice and big. Plop those on your character so you remember what's happening and who's got what status on it.
There are colored cubes, 3 different colors.
So these are these colored translucent cubes are basically to remember certain things. So red cubes are for attacks, blue cubes are for hit points, and the white cubes are a little different. They're not really a stat, but they're like a countdown marker. So we've only gone through the game a little bit, so we've played so that we understand it. There are so many things, but what I'm getting at is I'm guessing that countdown marker would be something like, oh, I placed a bomb on somebody or something like that. Put 3 markers, each turn take one off.
Yep.
When the last one gets removed, something goes boom. That would be an example. That does not mean it's in the game like that. That's just an example of what a countdown counter usually operates like.
Then there are the reference cards.
Reference cards are these. These are very nice. Turn order on one side. All the different stats and what they do on the other.
Alright. And then the things that are left are the cards in the game. So
Okay.
the first kind of card is the Speaking Stones.
Speaking Stones. This is some different Speaking Stones. Hopefully you can see these, because if you can see these at all, you know why Mickey bought the game. Because they're really pretty. So anyways, real quick, and I'm sure going over gameplay, we'll go over this even more. But your Speaking Stone, it has a name, it has a type of stone. This is the type of stone in the corner, and then it has a value of the stone, which is the stars over in the upper left. And basically this is your money in the game.
And there's actually, at the very bottom, you can't really see it too well, but there's some text.
Flavor text, which is actually really cool.
Yeah, like, because they did it for all of them.
Yeah, there's so this particular one, the emerald, the 3-star emerald with with a sword, says, do not make the mistake of thinking the windbound are frail, for even mountains succumb to the wind. So there's all kinds of really cool flavor text in the game.
Alright, next up are the characters.
Here's a pile of characters. There are tons of characters. Oh, I got a little bit out of order because Jebs are on top here. But I'm going to move these aside. So you have your characters, the 2 colored stones that they use, and the rarity of the character is the star in the upper left again, and the class that they belong to is on the upper right corner. So you have 1-star characters, 2-star characters, and 3-star characters. And if you'll notice, like once you start getting into the 3s, they can use multicolors. Just as a quick aside, the color on the left is going to be your attack. and the color or colors on the right are the defensive.
And then at the very bottom in the center, it tells what kind of damage they do.
You're right. There's either a P or an S. P stands for physical. So this is a physical character, and the other is S, which stands for a spirit type character.
And then the last thing are the ability cards.
Okay, so the ability cards, you know what they have? Jeb is really slow tonight. They have the abilities, Jeb.
Oh, yeah.
Ability cards have abilities.
Yes, that's true.
Jeb had a rough day at work, people. He really did. He was all set to leave, and the boss came in and told him that he had to stay. So he's a little out of it. Anyways, so the ability cards are character specific. Up at the top here, if you can see where I'm pointing, has the character name and the class that they belong to. So it's actually, when you're scanning the cards, actually a little bit easier to thumb through them real quick, look for the class that you're looking for. If you see that symbol, then check out the name. If the name isn't right, move on. So you'll have an attack card for the character, and you will have a defense card for the character. Now, just to show you real quick, so, because I know these are on top because we just put them away. So, for instance, this is Yuki, okay? I have Yuki's cards here. He's a marauder. He has the, has the symbol of 2 daggers, okay? The attack card has the black speaking stone, and there it is. So notice that that has Yuki, black speaking stone, and it matches. And then at the bottom, Yuki has, for defense, has the wind element and the earth element, and I forget what the black element is.
Darkness or something.
But whatever. Notice that it has both of those symbols on the defensive card. Okay, so there's 2 cards, and they have the character name. So hopefully that makes sense. So if you're going to play that character, take those 2 cards, and defense, offense, and the character obviously is going to be on the board. This actually is hollowed out a little bit, so they don't slip around as easy, which is another kind of nice feature about that. But that's all the components and how they work. I think Jeb's not going to yell at me if I just said that was all of them.
Well, I think they included this bag, but it doesn't really do anything with the
not
game
with the
itself.
game, but it's nice for storage. It holds all the tokens, and it can hold the you can hold the pegs. Or I would probably put the tokens in these in. The pegs did come in a bag. This was part of the Kickstarter. Was a broken token. This is the for the speaking stones to hold them. Yeah, and there was also, this is the Kickstarter edition, so I have some alternate art for some of the characters. I can't remember if there was any unique characters or not just for the Kickstarter. I honestly don't remember, but the alternate art was pretty cool. Okay, so we'll be back in a minute to go over setup and mechanics, right, Jeb?
Yes. All right, we're back with how to set up Stonebound Saga. So I'll go over these. Mickey will show you everything I'm talking about. One thing to note real quick is that the board that we have in front of you is not completely unfolded. We only have a portion of it, so we can show you what part of the board looks like when you set up.
So the cards move around the board, and as you saw, if you watched the components part, you saw how big the board is. So for filming purposes, for setup, we're just going to show you the half, because you play the game from the short end, because the cards fit on the board like that. They don't go like that. They don't fit in the rectangles, okay? So basically, that's the only reason why we have to get an idea of what's going on here.
Yeah, so pretend that the board actually would extend further.
Right, but you'll see the whole board in gameplay anyway. So.
Right. All right, so the first thing, is you and everybody that's playing with you is going to choose between whether you're playing constructed, draft, or free play.
So real quick, constructed, you're going to get to pick your characters. Draft, you take the 1 stars, the 2 stars, and the 3 stars. You separate them into piles, shuffle the piles, take 5 from each of those piles, shuffle them up, put them face up on the table, and start a draft. That's how that goes. And free play is do whatever you want. The purpose of free play is because in the constructed and in the draft, you are limited to 5-star values. So your characters must add up to 5 stars. Okay, so you could have a 3 and 2 1s, or 2 2s and a 1, or you could go with all 1s too. You don't have to hit 5, but you get the point. That's the way that you have to do it. And then in free play, you can go all out and do whatever you want.
Yep. And then depending on how many players are playing, there's rules in the book for what you're going to do next. So we're just going to play a 2-player game, right, which is 1 versus 1.
Right. And we just did constructed, and we'll be totally honest with you. We went through for our first game, and we went, that character looks cool, that guy looks tough, and we just picked them that way and made sure there was a 5-star value. That's what we did. I actually don't know, I don't remember in the rule book if it has a suggested first play for characters or anything. I think it just gives a description of what the different classes specialize in.
Yeah.
Because there is an insane amount of abilities and stuff in this game, just overwhelmingly insane.
Alright, so once you determine what type of game you're playing, you are going to take a character dashboard for every character you have, and then select your characters.
Alright, so we have a 2-player game, so we are all getting 3 characters, or Jeb and I will both have 3 characters, so I would grab the 3 character boards.
Alright, and once you get your 3 characters, you are going to find their cards and their ability cards, and then set up the stats on their board.
Okay, so we've already dug through and done this. So I have Leah, and she's a prophet, and here are her cards. And I have Dalton, who is a watchman, and his cards. And I also have, Mickey cannot play a game without a female archer. So there's Rosa, and she is what do they call her? A vanguard, and there are her cards. Okay, and then Jeb also said you get your character and you set up their stats. So setting up their initial stats is really easy. You look at what their class is, and before you put these other cards on the board, you go to, so like I said, Leah's a prophet. I find the prophet row. Everybody starts at 20 hit points. And then you move down. Physical defense is a 1. So I go over to physical defense. I move the slider to 1. Go to the next one. Spirit defense is a 3. Find spirit defense. Put it at 3. Move across. It jumps down to the critical, which is down here. It's a 15. So I put the 10 spot on 10. And the 1's on a 5. I'm at 15. Then the move value is a 2. It's already on 2. And the last one is the range. And the range is on 3.
You skipped over attack, but it's already at
I'm sorry.
What it is.
The attack is 3. That was this column here.
Yeah.
My finger must have slid. Once that's done, you can put the cards where they're supposed to be. Notice that on Leah, remember this is the attack side, so that's easy to remember. It's the green and yellow. There's the green and yellow, which is wind and I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Oh, I got them right here. Yellow is neutral.
Wind and neutral, and then the bottom is white, which represents light. Okay, so there, I have her all set up. Then I would continue to do the same things with these. I'm not going to go through all the sliders with this, but like I said, this is a watcher, so I put the stats from this row. A watchman. I keep calling it watcher. It's not a comic book. Well, it could be a watch, because there were
They're both
Watchmen
comics.
comic books. Yeah. Huh. How about them apples? Anyways, so the defense is there, and the offense is here. Notice how it's got 2 blank space, and that's because it's a level 1. Level 1 have 6 abilities. Level 2 have 9 abilities. We have no level 3s out, but they fill all the slots. They have 12 abilities. And then for Rosa, again, check her card out. She is a Vanguard, which is the bow, and set those stats. And then their defensive card is the black one, and then there is a Wind and Fire, I believe is what it's called. And then you're all set up.
Yep, and the other players would do the same thing.
Right.
So, next up, you're going to determine who is first player.
Obviously you take, well, not obviously, but get a white die and a colored die so that you can distinguish between your 10s and your 1s.
Yep. So since it's me and Mickey, I got a 30.
I got a 55.
All right. First player sets up characters on one side of the board, and then the second player does it on the opposite side. So Mickey would get to set up his guys.
And literally, and this is the reason why we did a half a board for you, I can start my characters anywhere on this line. Not in, you have to be back here, not up here, back here. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of go and spread everybody out a little bit.
And then after he did that, on the opposite side of the board, I would put mine facing his people. And then the last thing you're going to do is shuffle the Speaking Stone deck and place it to the side. And then all the character boards are going to go on the side, which you'll see when we set up the game.
Yep.
Or when we start playing.
So shuffle the massive thing of Speaking Stones. It's good that this deck is so massive, honestly, because, like I said, this is first of all, this is your currency in the game, and you can burn through this pretty fast, and the holder is kind of nice, but obviously you don't have to have a holder. Put it face down. So that's what we're going to use, and then this is the discard side. That's that. You don't need any of the other character cards out, and you don't need any of the other ability cards out, because this is what you're playing with. The object of the game is to defeat all the characters of your opponent. And the other thing is obviously have tokens and pegs and stuff off to the side within reach so you can grab those.
And that's everything for setup. Alright, so this is the meat of the game. How to play it.
Yeah, we're going to attempt to show you the bare minimum basics of the game here, because like I mentioned earlier when we were going over the components, there is so many things that
so many ability interactions that we couldn't cover.
There's no way we would cover them all. So like I said, Jeb and I are just going to show you the basics and watch some gameplay afterwards if you want to see more.
Alright, so a complete overview of the game, it's going to be back and forth turns. So if Mickey's first player, he would take his turn, I would take mine, and we literally just go back and forth until a winner is determined. And I believe winner is when the opponents, all 3 of their characters are knocked out or
incapacitated in this game.
Okay, so let's talk about what you do on your turn.
Again, for video purposes, so you guys can see, we got the stack of Speaking Stones right there for drawing purposes. They don't sit on the board.
Right. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do is draw Speaking Stones. So what you're going to do is you have to determine what your maximum hand size is, and that is equal to 1 plus 2 for every character you control.
Right. So remember, when we talked about selecting characters, it's up to 5 stars. So if you picked a 3-star and a 2-star, you'd only have 2 characters. That's why they word it like that. So in this case, I'm going to draw 1 card, and then I have 3 characters, so that would be 6 more cards. Okay, so I draw 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Whoa, Jeb, I got an awesome hand.
And one quick thing to note is Mickey determined that his max hand size is 7. If any of his characters ever become incapacitated, his max hand size is always 7.
Whatever you start the game with
right.
is what your hand.
Alright, so Mickey drew his cards. Next up, you are going to activate a character. So Mickey has 3 of them to choose from.
Alright, so it does, at the beginning of the game, you're really far across the board, so there's only a few characters that can really take advantage of the whole board, but anyways, so let's just say I want to move Dalton first, or activate Dalton first, okay, so
right.
Activate Dalton.
So the things you can do on your character's activation, you can fuse an ability, you can do movement, or you can do a standard attack / an ability. So those are the 3 things you get to do. You can do them in any order. The only thing is you either have to do a standard attack or an ability. That's the condition.
And the reason they word that like that is because on the top of your attack card, it says, some of them say standard attack, and then
some don't even say that.
Some don't say standard attack, so everything is like an ability.
Yeah.
Okay? So basically that's what, and I guess I haven't seen any, but if there was a defensive card that didn't have the word fuse by it, then it wouldn't be a fuse.
Right.
So keep that in mind. Typically from what we've seen so far, and again, there's a ton of cards, I haven't looked at them all, but like every card that I have out here, oh no, here's one right here. So this one does not have, this is not a fuse ability. So there you go. So the way Jeb and I read the rules is that would be my standard attack / ability for the turn if I decided to use this.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be getting any attack off, really. Okay. Hopefully that's clear, because I know that you guys can't see these cards. There's a lot of information on them, so
yeah, we'll step through each of these.
Yeah, we're trying to make this as clear as possible.
All right. So the first thing you want to do, movement.
Yeah. So movement's pretty easy. So his move is a 2. So I can take him and I can literally move him 2 spaces, orthogonally. Okay. No diagonal in the game, so I can't slide over there. I can do anything like this. So anyway, orthogonally only, which is, if you've never heard that word before, that means vertical and horizontal.
Up, down, left, right.
Up, down, left, right. Okay.
There are a couple rules. Allies you can pass through allies when you move. You can land on incapacitated heroes. So if an incapacitated hero is one that's flipped face down, so you can actually land on them and stay in that space. If it's a face-up card, you cannot have 2 people in the same spot. That's common to most games. And then the last thing is you cannot break up movement. So Mickey could not move him 1, do an attack, and then move back.
Right.
That's not allowed.
You do it's all or nothing, basically.
All right. So next up, let's do a fuse ability.
Okay. So here's where the speaking stones come into play. Aside from movement, everything is going to cost you a stone.
Yeah.
Or stones, actually. Again, very hard to see, but all of these cards have a color representing the stone, which is also over here or up top or whatever, by the ability, and then a number. So that means that's the cost value of that particular element that you need to be able to make it happen. All right, so we're going to fuse. All right, so I'm just going to pick the first one. Okay, so this is called displacement, and it costs 2 green. All right, so I look at my hand, and I look at my green cards, and I will show you guys my green cards. All right, here are my green cards. I have 1 green card that's 3, a 1, and a 2. And what do I mean by 1, 2, and 3? This number of stars. Okay.
And that's how many resources.
That's how many resources that those provide. So this provides 1 green resource, which is wind again. 2 and 3. So since this costs 2, I could use that one card to pay for that fuse, and then I activate it. Or if I didn't have this, I could actually use the 3 cost one too, but I lose the extra money, so to speak.
Yeah, you're not allowed to use that for other stuff.
Right. It's like whatever you use goes towards that. It doesn't carry over to anything else. So then once I activate the fuse, which since I have the proper resources, I will use that. Pay for that, so I discard it.
Nope.
No, if you're fused, that's right.
You can put it above the character card so they can
This sits...
It's supposed to be next to the character board.
Yeah,
but
over here to show that you've actually paid for it.
Yeah.
I need a peg. Put it in the fuse that I set up, so that's a reminder to me that this is active. And this one says it's an aura. And if Dalton takes hit point damage, we haven't gotten into damage yet, from an attack, player... Oh, crap, I cannot read upside down with this small print. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. So, fuse aura. If Dalton takes hit point damage from an attack, player may move attacker 2 spaces.
So when he gets hit, you get to move the attacker.
Right. And just if you want a little bit of strategy behind it, Dalton's a 1 space range. So if I get hit by a ranged person and it does hit point damage, you can pull them towards you, basically, is what they're doing. Or if you're really, I guess if you're really afraid,
push them.
Shove them back. Or maybe they're even close to somebody else and you want to shove them back. But anyways, the point is you can move that person that attacked you. Okay, so this is always in effect. This card here shows that I paid for it. Normally it would sit down on the side. The biggest thing to remember about these cards sitting out to the side, that you've paid for your fuse abilities, these still count towards your hand size.
Yep.
Okay, so when you go to refill your hand at the beginning of your turn, which I know we haven't got to yet, but you're going to make sure to always count what you already have in play, what you still have in your hand, and then you're going to calculate what you get to draw.
Yep. So far on Dalton's activation, he's fused an ability. Let's pretend that we have an enemy that was nearby. Mickey can move Dalton if he wants to, which he probably should if he's going to do an attack, right? So Dalton's has a 2 movement, so he moves him 2. And then the last thing Mickey can do on Dalton's activation is a standard attack or an ability.
Right. So remember, the fuse was a fuse, and now I can attack if I so choose. Okay, so I have options for him still.
Yes. And one thing to note about attacks is that you need to be in range of the character that you're attacking, and Dalton's range is a 1. So starting from his space and counting out, that's 1. So pretty much 1s are adjacent.
Yeah. And
by the way, this is not 1. It's 1, 2. So, because this game counts orthogonal, not diagonal.
Right. So I do have a card that I could pull off an attack with. So I guess we can go ahead and show it. Let's see. So this will show some combat here. Let's just do a simple one. Okay, I really want to get off to attack. I probably wouldn't do this under normal circumstances, but the rest of my hand, you can see I have a lot of neutral cards and 2 green cards, but then I have this special card called the Rainbow Obsidian. Okay? Notice that it has a unique symbol here. You can't see it real good, but this symbol up here is a circle, and it has little spikes of all the colors. You can probably guess now what it does. It is a wild card, basically. It represents all of them. And notice the symbol over here does not have any stars. It has an infinity symbol. So anything with an infinity symbol provides an unlimited amount of that resource. So I really, really want to get off an attack. And just to keep things simple, I'm going to use the basic attack. During the game, I probably would save this for a way more powerful attack. But this attack costs 2 white elements, which is light, I believe Jeb said.
Yep.
And so I would pay the cost, discard the card this time. Yes, gets discarded. And then I would perform the attack. So we're going to go over to attack a little bit here. All right, here's how an attack works. It says, perform a standard attack. And this is the basics of attack. The very first thing you do on the attack is roll to see if it's going to be a critical attack. In this game, what critical attack means is that your base attack will get doubled if you hit the crit. Okay? So all you're doing is determining if it's going to be critical or not so that you know what the base damage is. So I roll my dice. My critical is a 20. So that means on a 1 to 20, if I hit a 1 to 20, I will get the critical. I got a 21. So I missed it. I literally missed getting a critical by 1. Okay? So now, so it didn't crit, so I look at my attack, and my attack is a 4. So I tell Jeb, I hit you for 4, and I add upkeep to you. Okay? So you can't, it's very hard to see again. There's a little word that's highlighted in brackets, and it says upkeep. So that means I get to apply a status effect to Jeb.
So it just automatically applies to me?
Yes, and it's important to note that status effects still go off even if you whiff the damage.
Right. So I'm going to put her board right here real quick so we can go over how this is going to work.
Yep.
So Mickey's guy, Dalton, is a physical. He's doing 4 physical damage, and she's got a physical defense of 2. So what you're going to do is 4 damage minus the 2 defense is 2. So her life is going to go down from 20 to 18. And then since the attack hit and it wasn't critical, her physical defense stat goes down 1.
Okay, so actually the exact wording of the rules is since the attack was more than the defense, this gets reduced by 1.
Okay.
Okay, because, and the reason I just clarify that a little bit is because if for some reason it happened to be a tie, Jeb would not have reduced that.
Okay. So as long as
Right.
HP is being...
Yeah, so, yeah, basically is if HP moves, that's going to move, but I'm being picky about the wording in the rulebook.
And if it was a critical, that would move down 2 instead of 1.
That's right.
So that's important.
And that would have... Okay,
well,
so...
if it was a critical,
right.
put her back to 2. And
let's pretend I actually did hit the 20. So the crit went off. So now I look at my attack. I double it. I say, Jeb, I'm dealing 8 damage plus the status effect.
All right,
Jeb
so
looks at it.
8 minus 2 is 6. So she goes down to 14. And then since it's critical, this is going to go down to...
Now it's at 0. So if you're wondering, yeah, you don't have a ton of range in these things, which is actually a good thing because you are playing with 3 characters.
It'll speed
and
it up.
Oh my gosh, if this game, and there are things that raise and lower stuff too, so you can keep that in mind. But the point is, you know, you don't want a super slow-paced game.
Right. And the very last thing, after the damage is dealt, his attack said it does upkeep.
Upkeep.
So the upkeep token is an arrow that actually points up,
Right.
depending on how you look at it.
On your point of view. Upkeep, we'll give you an example of a status effect. Upkeep says characters with the upkeep status have their spirit cost of all their abilities increased by 1. Upkeep does not affect fuses currently in play. Upkeep may not be applied more than once. So what that means is that it's the spirit cost. This would kind of be stupid to put on a physical player, but she is a spirit character. So all of her abilities are spirit abilities. So that means she has to pay 1 more for everything except fuses that she already has in play. So in other words, if there was a fuse already over here, you don't say, oh wait, that costs one more now, you need to come up with a stone real quick. Right. It doesn't work like that. If they already paid for it's already active. But anything subsequent to that certainly costs more. And that one just doesn't stack, stays on there until Jeb can figure out a way to get rid of it.
Alright, so Dalton's turn. He fused, he moved, he attacked, so that's everything he can do. So that his activation's done. So now Mickey gets to activate another of his characters, and he's going to do that with all of his remaining characters. So we'll pretend he activated both of them. Right. So all of his characters have been activated. The next thing you are going to do is there is a thing called break fuse abilities. It's a window after you activate everybody where you can I guess optionally get rid of the fuse abilities, right, if you want to.
So let's say it's further in the game. I've got fuses on this character and this character, and now my hand size is basically, I'm down to 1 for some reason. Right, I'm drawing 1 per turn, and I'm like, I just can't operate with just 1 per turn. So I'm going to break this fuse. So basically, I discard this card, I take out my peg, and that fuse is no longer happening. I've freed up some hand space for the draw phase, and that's it. That's how that works.
And then after you break fuse abilities, the last thing on your turn is discarding. So you can optionally discard cards if you want, or if your hand is more than your hand limit, you have to discard down to your hand limit.
What comes into play, and maybe you were actually wondering about this, is what happens if I'm getting a bunch of speaking stones and I have none of the colors on my character. Like, for instance, I have no blue whatsoever. So if I'm holding blue cards, they are literally worthless to me.
Yep.
So I can just dump those at the end of my turn and just wait for my draw phase to come up at the beginning of next turn. And then hopefully I draw some stuff that I can use for the characters. That being said, Jeb and I have gone through, we have not played a 100% full game yet. Can you get screwed with the stones? Yes, but they did seem to come up as long as you are managing your hand size. I know the turn right before we quit, I think Jeb drew like 3 cards and got hammered pretty hard.
It was 2 turns in a row.
2 turns?
Yeah.
Well, you were still able to put some fuses on or something until the last one, then you could do nothing, yeah. I think you said. Oh no, you had abilities for the person turn that was way back in the battlefield. Yeah. So you could say that he only got screwed for the people that were up front, but he was trying to protect somebody else. So was it getting screwed or was it? I don't know. But anyways, you haven't played enough to know if that's actually a huge issue.
Alright, so that would be the end of Mickey's turn. So it would go to my turn. I would do the exact same thing. And then at the end of my turn, comes back to Mickey. So just real quick, at the beginning of his turn, he's going to draw his speaking stones. So his hand limit's 7, and how many cards do you have in hand right now?
So right now I literally have 5 cards in my hand.
So he would get to draw 2 from the deck.
Right, because I remember I broke this.
Yeah.
If this was still in play, I'd only be drawing 1.
Yep.
But then I would draw 2. And then it would be my turn to activate all my characters again.
Yep.
It is interesting that even though you're back and forth, just to be clear, you do activate all your characters before your opponent takes a turn and activates all their characters.
Yeah. And then the only thing we never talked about was evasion and negation. And there's some abilities that allow characters to evade attacks or negate attacks. And one of the key things is, for evasion, it'll say, like, on a 1 to 20, if Mickey's person had an ability that lets him evade an attack, I attack his character, and they have that power. If it's 1 to 20, Mickey would roll a die, or the dice, and if he gets a 1 to 20, then he evades the attack completely. A thing to note about evasion is if you have 2 evasions on the same person, they stack. So So if Mickey had one ability that was a 1 to 20 and another that was a 1 to 30, you would add it together. So he would roll, and if he got a 1 to 50, he would evade. And negations do not stack. There are some cards that let you negate attacks, and for that you would just actually negate the attack. I don't think you have to roll anything, or if it'll say if you do. So.
Right. But I'm assuming the other important part to remember is that if since it's a chance card for an evasion, and if Jeb misses me, he already paid for that. So it's not like oh, we're checking first to see if I evade. Right. It's like I'm chucking this stuff at you. I've spent the resources. Did it hit or not? Just to be clear, some people might, I think that's a little bit obvious, but it might not be.
And then, like we said earlier, the game ends when the other team's characters, or the entire other team, is incapacitated.
Right, so if Jeb comes up and does this to me, boom, game over.
Yep. And
you're incapacitated, obvious. I don't know if there's a card that automatically incapacitates you, but it's once your hit points reach 0, you're incapacitated. There are cards I know for sure that I'll call it resurrect people. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they call it something different. But your incapacitated people, depending on the characters that you choose, may come back to life. Right. So
and that's
keep that in mind.
Certain characters. It's not an inherent.
It's not an inherent thing. Yep. So that's the basics. Like we said, there is just a ton of stuff to go over. Like I said, there's 13 statuses. There's more things on these cards than I can count. So, it would be virtually impossible to go over everything. So if you come across something and you have a question, obviously put it down there. We'll try to figure it out for you. Otherwise, if you want to see some more, because this was a very general overview and you really want to see the mechanics and a bunch of stuff in play, I would say watch about at least 15 minutes to a half an hour of gameplay, because this board is really huge.
The first couple turns
the first couple turns you're setting up. Hopefully you're setting up some defensive strategies and slowly moving up the board. There's only one class of character that moves 4 in the whole game. So until you get some stuff that either boosts that or whatever, you're only moving a couple spaces at a time. But then once you start getting in the middle, then all the cool stuff starts happening. So unless Jeb has anything else to say, we're going to move on to a 2-player game of the Stonebound Saga.